groups to demand Saudi Arabia release a poet who's been given a death sentence for insulting Islam. He faces execution because a judge decided that his repentance was not enough.
Saudi Arabia, never known for leniency in criminal matters. But this event shocked even many citizens of the kingdom. A prolific artist of Palestinian origin, Ashraf Fayadh, imprisoned for almost a decade. A fellow Saudi artist and friend remarked during his imprisonment, "Last time I spoke to him, he really thought he was going to die." The accusation? Blasphemy. A commonly prosecuted offense in the theocratic kingdom of Saudi Arabia, where the monarch has absolute authority and laws and punishments both are draconian and brutal. In the last few years, Saudi Arabia has made a pretense of liberalizing. The long prohibition on women driving has been lifted, along with certain limited aspects of the male guardianship system that restricts women's freedom of movement. But how much has the kingdom really shed its autocratic, oppressive nature? The case of Ashraf Fayadh is instructive, and it paints a grim picture. Ashraf had been active as an artist for decades at the time of his arrest. A co-founder of the Shatta Artists Collective, a curator of exhibitions, and a poet, he was one of the most prominent figures in the Saudi art world by 2013. Yet it would be for nothing more than exercising his right to artistic expression that he would be thrown in jail, to international clamor and outrage. He would stay in prison until August 2022. 2013. The accusation.
Fayadh was first arrested in 2013 after he argued with a man in a cafe over his poetry, and a complaint was filed with the Saudi ultra-conservative religious police that he insulted Islam.
The accusation led to arrest. On this first occasion, police released him after only a day. It seemed the ordeal was just a blip on the radar, until months later, at the turn of the year, 2014. Ashraf was arrested again, this time with a litany of offenses to his name. He was accused of blasphemy against Islam. He was accused of denying the sacred tenets of Islam and therefore apostasy. And he was accused of illicit relationships with women. Now, Ashraf was face to face with a judge who would decide whether he would be permitted to live. There may have been more to this case than met the eye. Ashraf had previously uploaded a video of Saudi religious police lashing a young man in public to the internet. This may have painted a target on his back. Regardless, when he went to trial, it was for the so-called crimes of insulting Islam, leaving Islam, and breaching Islamic precepts. Prosecutors claimed to find blasphemous content in Ashraf's poetry, including a 2008 collection, Instructions Within. They pointed out his long hair and smoking of cigarettes as evidence of his atheism and moral impropriety. They used images of Ashraf standing with friends and associates who happened to be women as evidence of his sexual misconduct. Ashraf denied the charges and insisted there was nothing blasphemous about his poetry. Friends testified for him, swearing they had never heard him insult Islam or promote atheism, along with their belief that the accuser was motivated by a wish to settle a score. But the prosecution was successful. 2015. Ashraf Fayadh was sentenced to death. The verdict sparked controversy within Saudi Arabia and outrage outside the kingdom. Activists organized protest readings the world over and campaigned for the death sentence to be quashed. And only a week later, Ashraf's father died of a stroke, and he was barred from attending the funeral. After this tragedy, Ashraf wrote a poem, which was translated and published in The Guardian. What good is it to be this alive while others die from sorrow over you? I saw my father for the last time through thick glass. Then he departed for good. Because of me, let's say. Let us say, because he could not bear the thought I'd die before him. My father died and left death to besiege me without it frightening me sufficiently. Why does death scare us to death? Ashraf spent only a few months on death row. He appealed to have his sentence reduced to 8 years imprisonment and 800 lashes. The heinous cruelty even of this commuted sentence was sadly tame by Saudi standards, and Ashraf was forced to serve his prison time in full. During this time, he wrote and published a second poetry collection, which included one poem entitled Stroke, in honor of his father. Finally, after 8 years, his sentence expired. It would be another 8 months still before he was finally released on the 22nd of August, 2022. Ashraf Fayadh's freedom is cause for celebration. But the fact that he was ever behind bars, even for a second, is an unacceptably grim indictment of the Saudi legal system. Whatever incremental reforms Saudi institutes, its draconian hostility to human rights and freedom of conscience remains. And until the state abolishes its blasphemy laws and gives up its theocratic pretenses, this fundamental reality will never change.
We must communicate together, we must live together to forget all about the past, and we must build a new life.